low. And I would nap a lot. I would try to sleep the day away as much as I could. Like the middle part of the day when there was like I'd already eaten or I'd already read for like 4 hours and I was just, I needed to just chill out and nothing on TV or midway through my stay, they took the televisions away during certain daily hours so that people would work their jobs. I would just sleep through that. And it was,
you're trying to create the stasis they have in sci-fi where you can wake up 2 months later.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And I said that openly. I was like, if I can go in a coma and wake up when I get out, because this is like thrown away life. Like there's nothing to gain here. But I did read. I read an incredible amount. First I read Lord of the Rings. I got Lord of the Rings out of the library and I read it in 5 days. It's about 1,000 pages or something like that. So I didn't make crazy good time, but Tolkien is kind of a tough read. Yeah. And so I got through that, loved it. I still like the movies better. And I think they did a good job combining multiple small characters into one main character. And I think that really benefits the story. And then I just started getting crazy with the books, just more and more and more. I read The Fifth Wave, which is this alien invasion series of books. There's 3 of them. They made a movie about it. It's probably a book for teenage girls, but I still liked it. It was fun. The main character is like a 16-year-old girl. Aliens have basically killed like 99% of the human population. She's kind of on the run, and she's like a freedom fighter trying to fight against the aliens. And I loved that. I thought it was pretty good. Read all 3 of those books. They're 400 or 500 pages each. And then Chiz sent me Anthony Cumia's book. I read through that in a day. He sent me Howard Stern's latest book. Read through that in a day. And then I got a whole shipment of books. Kitty sent me all 7 of the Harry Potter books. I read through all 7 of those in about 2 weeks. And the later ones are like 1,000 pages. So I just blazed through those things. Then she sent me 11/22/63, the best book I've ever read in my entire fucking life. It's Stephen King. It's Stephen King. There's a Hulu television show about it, based on it, with James Franco playing the main character, which I'm going to start watching tonight. The premise is this. I won't spoil it. There is a portal that this man can walk through that takes him back to 1958 on a specific day at a specific time at the same location he's sitting at. He's only traveling through time, not space. Once he's through, he can do whatever he wants. He could live there if he wants, or he could just go like shoot a guy and walk right back through the portal and see how that affected the future. If he goes back through the portal, completely resets everything. Same thing. He goes right back, same day, same time as the first time, and he could kill a different person and keep experimenting. Well, he decides he's going to prevent the assassination of John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated on 11/22/1963. The only problem is he's in 1958. So he's got to live in the past for 5 years. And he's got to make sure that Lee Harvey Oswald actually killed him, because he doesn't want to kill an innocent man, especially after spending 3 years there. Because if he does, he goes back and JFK's dead anyway. He's wasted years of his life, and he's got to go do it again and find the real killer. So
is he aging as this happens?
Yeah. Oh. He starts out and he's 35, but he's going to be 40 by the time he gets back. And so he decides that he's got to make sure that Oswald did it. So he has all these meticulous notebooks that his friend gave him, who owns the place where the portal exists. And he basically stalks Lee Harvey Oswald and goes really like cloak and dagger, like private detective on him, planting listening devices in his apartment. He would rent the apartment underneath Lee Harvey Oswald so he could run a wire in and listen to his conversations with this other guy and see like what he's up to. He's stalking him everywhere, seeing what he's doing. He watches him get the rifle. He watches him hide the rifle. Like it's great. And he lives a life during that 5 years. It's not just laser focused on Oswald, because Oswald doesn't even come back into the country from Russia until like, I don't know, maybe 60, 61, something like that. So he travels, the portal's in Maine. That's where all Stephen King's books are based for the most part. So he's got to travel, down to Dallas, Texas, and he goes on an adventure the whole way. He meets a woman and he falls in love and he makes friends and relationships. He gets a job that's very fulfilling, and he changes people's lives for the better. And then, and in the end, he's finally got to do something about Lee Harvey Oswald. It's excellent. Love that. And I was like, all right, well, I need more Stephen King. So then I read It. It's 1,250 fucking pages. That took a while. I didn't know that there was an 11-year-old girl who got banged by 6 11-year-old boys in that book. But sure enough, they had themselves a nice little gang bang right there toward the end.
They call it the most needless sex scene in all of literature. Because, yeah.
Do they say that, or am I being gullible?
No, that's what, like, I've heard people be like, yeah, it was pretty good, but what the fuck? Why was that in the book? It's funny enough, like on a business trip, I started reading it while you were in prison.
Oh.
Got a couple hundred pages in, haven't touched it in a while, but yeah, maybe I'll get to the rape scene eventually.
It's very
If
far.
you could give me the page number of the rape scene, that'd save me a lot of time.
I would. There's about 1,250, 1,300 pages, and I would guess it's around page 1,100 or something.
So start there.
It's
Gotcha.
right at the end. Yeah, start right there at the end. Yeah, it's
1,000 pages.
I mean, they explain it, but it's like still, you could have just not caused that issue. Like basically, the children have this connection with one another, and they almost like superpowers. Each of them has their own little superpower, but it's like a real minor league superpower. Like this one guy, he's always got a knack for knowing which way to go. If they're in a bunch of tunnels, he's got a feeling it's to the left, and he's right. Well, that starts fading away because they've kind of completed their mission, and they've, the magic is fading. And the girl's like, I know what we got to do, boys. Only one thing for it. And they're like, why are you getting naked? She's like pulling her shorts down. You got to stick your thing in me. And so each of them in succession bangs her, and in not great detail, but a little bit too much detail, we learn how big each of their dicks are and which of them have orgasms at 11 years old, and what she's feeling. And she's feeling some wet stuff on her leg, and she doesn't know if it's blood or cum. And it's like, God damn, she's 11. She's 11. I don't need to hear about Beverly.
Stephen King is a fucking creep.
If I was in that scene, I'd be like, can I get like a 4-year rain check? Because I'm 11 and this doesn't look good for me.
Man, so really liked it though. I like, aside from that childhood gangbang thing, I wasn't too much into
their
that.
superpower? I really want to know.
You gotta read it.
Immediately, Richie, the character Richie, goes, I know what we did back there. We were supposed to turn right.
Really?
Yeah, he literally does. Like as they're dressing, he's like, I got it. We go back through there and make a right.
Wait, I'm sensing humor. Try your mouth for a minute. So you read a fuck ton, like just tore through. How many pages would you estimate you
8,
read? Like 8,000?
Yeah, about 8,000. I've got a box of my books in there, and it's like a legal box about 12 inches by 12 inches, maybe 14 by 14, and it's stacked full, overflowing. I read The Gunslinger. I read Mr. Mercedes. Then I read Finders Keepers, and I'm going to read End of Watch next. That's a 3-book series Stephen King wrote that's based in reality, not too much science fiction bullshit, about a retired police detective after this criminal terrorist. Loved that shit. Read a ton of books. I'll just stop there and say I read a ton of fucking books, and they really helped pass the time.
I bet. Was anybody else in the prison taking your approach to this? Or were they all there for so much longer? It was like, I can't possibly read this away.
Yeah, and if I were in there for any period of time more than I was, if you're doing real time, if you're doing, I don't even know if you call a year real time, because a lot of these guys are 9 years into 12 or 8 years into 15 and stuff like that. That's real time. One guy had been in prison for going on 25 years, and he's old as shit. He had 3 more to go. If you're doing that, you want to get a job there at the prison.